Welcome back, everybody, to Weekly Wine Comic Time. I'm your host, Niko.
And I'm Christine.
This is episode 17, and we had to do that intro with, of course, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space March theme song.
It was the one last hurrah of Halloween.
Yes, because we did watch the movie this past week, and it's always a fun one. Yeah. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely check that one out, guys.
It's an 80s classic.
There you go. No, I don't. Is it 80s?
It is 80s.
Oh, yeah, late 80s, I think, right? Yes. Okay. Anyways, this isn't a movie review podcast. This is Weekly Wine Comic Time. So let's just get into it with today's wines that we had. This is called Julia Florista. It's a Portuguese wine. And it's only $9 here in Canada at the LCBO.
And it's delicious.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. I think this was a recommendation by one of Christine's
from a friend of mine.
Portuguese friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not bad. It's 13% alcohol, everybody.
It's
so
fantastic.
it's a strong red wine, and it goes down fine.
Pairs perfectly with cheese.
Yeah, we had some smoked Gouda as well as some apple
smoked cheddar.
Yeah, today while we
good.
had the wine, so it paired well with both of those.
Yeah.
And then next up we got we had also had a bottle of Wakefield. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from 2017, South Australia. It's called, Wakefield is the brand, but the name of this particular Cabernet is Promised Land. And it's got a seahorse on it.
Yeah, it's like a seahorse wine.
Yeah, it's got a very strange, kind of interesting looking...
Apparently you can download an app and watch something about it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, so it says it on the back.
Bottle,
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that, but it is.
We did not do that.
It is a South Australian Cabernet Sauvignon, though, so those are always good.
It's quite smooth. Went down well.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a good different red to mix with the other one we had. Actually,
it's a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, this is about $14, I think, for this one.
I think we got that on sale too.
Okay, so there you go. So yeah, those are our wines of the night that we enjoyed. We're sipping on tonight, and actually, at the time of recording, I guess apparently that was not enough for us today. We're also sipping on some
Chivas Regal.
There you go. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Is it?
I don't really know, but I'm going with it.
It's an expensive liquor, though, whiskey. So yeah, we had. So we're having a glass of that while we're recording today.
We're enjoying that while we record.
Yeah, we're having a good time here today. This was actually a great week of comics. Before we even jump into it, I think we should just start off by saying that. I don't know about you, but I thought this was a pretty good, interesting conversations to be had probably on these books that we
I agree,
and
I was actually excited to talk about them. Whereas I feel like the last couple of weeks were kind of a little bummed out about certain
maybe because of the goings on of the week. A couple of weeks there, it felt like very workmanlike.
Yeah,
yes. I felt like, now it's time to read the books. You know what I mean? And like, if it ever gets to that point where it's too much like that, like I don't want to do this show anymore.
No.
So you know what I mean? So like, this is a fun thing. So I felt today I kind of felt reinvigorated.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very good. So. Without further ado, I think Christine's going to start us off today. She actually had eight books.
8 books.
Also, because of time that we had and the number of books we had the last couple of weeks, in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, as we catch up, we were actually behind on a couple of our titles from the last couple of weeks. So you might hear us talk about some things that got introduced that came out, the week before. So, so look forward to that. So if you didn't hear us talk about something in particular that we normally do these last couple of weeks, look forward to us maybe talking about it when we catch up. Yeah. So there's a couple of titles,
or just leave us a thing in the comments, and we can always let you know if we didn't get to it on these shows. We can always let you know what we thought of it.
Yeah, for in particular this week, we didn't get to Chrononauts, which decided to drop all 4 issues in this single week. It's a Mark Millar book where they actually released all 4 issues the same day release, which is
it's a little hefty to read when you already have a large week.
Right, and also Fantastic Four Grand Design, which just if you looked at the panel work in that book, it being a Grand Design one,
it's a tad daunting.
Yeah, so I do look forward to reading both of those. So look forward to them on future episodes.
Yeah. So jump right into it. I'm going to start off with Archie 1955. This is issue number 2. This is written by Brian Augustine and Mark Waid.
Yeah, Brian Augustine.
Okay. Yeah. I butchered that fully.
No problem.
And pencils by Tom Grummett and Rick Burchett.
Okay.
So
I guess maybe was he on inks, Rick Burchett? I don't know. Does it say? Or
no,
just
it
his
says
art?
pencils by both of them.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And then inks by Bob Smith and Rick Burchett as well.
Okay.
So this went along. So I love the era that this is coming out in. It's so fitting for this book, and we've been so far removed from Archie at its like origin.
Yeah.
For so long, especially with fucking Riverdale that's out. That's batshit crazy.
Right.
So I actually really like this, and it really shows, like where it came from, and kind of it has that wholeheartedness still, but still in today's time. Like it's not written like it was back then. There's some wording and stuff like that that you kind of will throw you back, which is mostly the guy that's trying to buy Archie, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy that wants to be his manager and represent them.
Yeah, exactly.
Who comes along and he's like, hey, what's going on, Daddy-O? And like even like Archie referenced the fact, he's like, are those words supposed to mean good?
Yeah,
or
are
like
these good words?
He's just like trying to be too hip for his own good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to connect to the youth of that
this
time.
Yeah. But then you get a really cool glimpse of Pops really trying to connect with the kids, which you don't fucking get in the show, just to throw that out there, because Pop Tates is real messed up. No, this brings a real good vibe back to it.
They even said like the reason that his name's Pop is because like he's almost like everyone's father.
Yeah,
like,
because
he
cares
looks out
about
for all
the
the
youth.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks out for all of them. Although I will say this whole recording booth in the fucking
weird. That was weird. Yeah, so basically they're like, oh yeah, something broke down. I used all this money to put a fucking it's almost like a photo booth that we would have.
Right.
But it's a recording booth that literally fits one. And they're like, oh, we'll make it like a whole thing and the whole crowd can be in it. But then you find out that Archie stole the song that he heard from across the tracks, and
he was inspired by
stole, which he didn't realize
the black
was
part of town.
bad.
Yeah.
And he gets told that this was wrong because I'm gonna bring it here. Yeah. He's too privileged to know that this was wrong. And if you understand where I'm going with this reference, it is our Prime Minister of Canada. But anyways, I liked the fact that, we've watched a couple of things relating to artists growing up in this time or artists of this time. And it's like, I liked the dream that he had where he's essentially Elvis, where he's fat. He doesn't have control of his own self. That kind of also relates to the Beach Boys and everything. Like, they don't have control, which is essentially, he kind of seems like he knows that that's going on or that's what's going to happen to him.
Well, there's another reference that I want to point out when I talk about it here that you may have not have caught on then, because they really tapped into a lot of that industry back then and how
people use
ripped,
them.
Ripped off.
Well, even they said, like, in it, they're like, oh, he wants to do right by this guy. Let's just write a clause in here where it means nothing.
Right.
Yes, I did catch on to that. If that's what you're going for. No?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm curious to see what I didn't catch on to.
So what'd you give this?
I'll let you talk about it. Let's do the...
So there was a reference to Tom Parker in here. Now, Tom Parker was famously Elvis's manager.
Yes.
So he actually references when Veronica's father, the guy you were talking about, that was basically talking about just writing in the clause, because he's swooping in and basically trying to take over.
Yeah, and he's basically saying, oh yeah, he's just like a talk fucking radio guy.
And you find out, like, the other guy that that's trying to represent him, he's like, how many times I gotta run that crook out of here? Like, and basically he's the fucking crook trying to take advantage of him.
Yes, but at the same time, fucking Veronica's dad is gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, he's the greedy rich white man who's basically trying to take advantage of Archie and in part take advantage of the black man who is writing or inspiring basically writing all the material, who said that he'll write. He said, next time you do that, though, at least say,
and Archie
like,
did the right
I'm the
thing,
one who basically, I'm the one who came up with the song. Like, you gotta
give me credit.
Yeah, you gotta pay me off.
royalties.
Yeah, exactly. He says, he's like, listen, you're doing more than most people would do by actually confronting me about it and coming here and talking to me about it. Most people just run away with it, and I've already expected that from the white man, right? Like, so, And then Veronica's father, Hiram Lodge, there he references Tom Parker. Now Tom Parker is famously, that's why the Elvis thing kind of like as he was having a bad dream about it. And then Tom Parker, I read another comic, you guys, if you never read it before, it's called The Fifth Beatle. Andrew Robinson, a great comic book artist, drew it. It's about Brian Epstein. Now, Brian Epstein, that's why they refer to him as the fifth Beatle, basically represented the Beatles. And there was a period of time where Brian Epstein, he met Tom Parker, and Tom Parker wanted to be involved in representing the Beatles as well. But at that point in time, he had all this bad shit that was going on because like exactly because he was basically killing him off very slowly, his like Elvis become fat, like that's why when Archie had the bad dream in this, he actually envisioned
like Elvis.
Before
Elvis,
he died. So that was all very interesting. Like I know a little bit about that, about Tom Parker, and I know a little bit about this era, and I'm glad that they tapped into some things I actually got, because I don't really know too much about this time in music and this era.
I didn't know their names, but I know exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And we've all heard these things before about how the music industry rips people off. So I thought when about the first half of the issue, I wasn't sure how I felt about it after the last one, because it was playing it up very, very, tongue in cheek. The last one, and like, with the Daddy-O stuff and this and that.
It's very on the nose, basically.
Right. But then as he got through the second half of this issue, I was like, you know what? They're actually hitting on a lot of
shit that actually went down in this time frame.
Just like they did in the last one with the war.
Yeah.
So like I was like, this is much
They're
more
not
than an Archie.
Away from what literally happened.
But that's what's great about it, because it takes it adds to it, and it just doesn't become like your regular run of the mill Archie book.
No, it's not like happy go lucky, ooh, we're gonna be pop stars, like
So I really ended up enjoying it.
Me too. I loved it.
Yeah, I gave it
a 5.
Ooh, you beat me to it. I actually gave it a 4.5, only because
I actually really loved it. I really liked it.
Yeah, only because the lead-in kind of felt. I would say the first half of the issue I wasn't loving, but then once it got to like the
meteor
bits. I was like
where
this
it actually got deep into
I'm
it.
Like this is much more than it's set out to be. I thought.
Well, I think I appreciated the beginning and leading into it, because it was still Archie, and it is still wholesome, and he is very naive. He is a very naive kid. And again, he's a kid.
Right.
Which is the main thing to note, here.
Right.
Like, he even said, oh, well, this is my first contract. I really want to show my parents.
Yeah. And it's just this whole recording booth thing was kind of too wacky for me. I was like, I don't know.
Well, I shrugged that off.
That's why I gave it a 4.5. Only because of those things, though. Otherwise, this was a pretty solid issue, and I'm looking forward to more.
I'm excited to read more of this.
Yeah. All right, so next up we got Contagion. This is issue 5. This is the last issue of this weekly miniseries running throughout October. Written by Ed Brisson. Art on this issue is by Adam Gorham, which we're both huge fans of.
We love Adam Gorham.
Yeah, very nice
guy. He's
such
a nice guy.
Yeah, we've met him.
And his art is awesome.
Yes. I was about to say, this is my favorite looking issue.
Oh, yeah.
He killed this issue.
And the fact that he got Moon Knight was bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, not to get too much into my personal, collection. I have a Moon Knight commission by Adam, actually. He's a,
biased.
He's a local guy, not from Toronto, but lives in Ontario. He's from Hamilton, so he comes to a lot of the Toronto shows pretty much every year. So we've met him quite a few times. Very nice guy and great artist, guys. So definitely, I mean, we may be a little biased in saying that, but because we know him personally. But for me, I do love his art, so this was the best looking issue, I think, of the series.
And he loves drawing boils, or I don't know if he loves it, but he's very good at
drawing the fungus and all that kinds of things. This was a good issue. I will say this series, it didn't have the momentum that I had wished it had for a weekly event. I think, like I said, we talked about on this show, I thought it started off okay, got stronger, lost itself in the middle. Last issue was the strongest, looking towards a good, satisfying conclusion. But then in this one, it kind of just wrapped up in I don't know. It was just I was looking for, like, I don't even think they Ed Brisson explained it as, like, to my satisfaction, like, what this whole thing was. That, like he kind of...
No, it just, like, we never got an actual answer. Like, all of a sudden this guy shows up, which you don't know where he came from, you don't know who he is. All of a sudden he showed up and he infected everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, they mentioned the fact that somebody, like, let it, like... That's what I mean. Like, there was no huge revelation or big reveal, or
he was
like
just kind of there.
Yeah, no, but they did mention, like, Moon Knight basically, guys, goes inside the mind scape of this creature, and while he's inside, he ends up having to fight it. And I guess because Moon Knight has worked around in his own brain before, he's able to do this as opposed to all the other characters. But yeah, as he goes inside, they're all kind of living inside, and they're all trying to kind of like help him out somehow by like kind of leading the way, and for him to basically like take out like the core of this thing so he can overthrow it, and like then the hive mind kind of gets over itself, and like, you know, like you know, I don't know, like relinquishes the power that it has over everybody, like, and then
like he went in and, like, I don't know, destroyed some weird hive mind that, like you said, relinquished power. Yeah, they're all like bug-looking things.
Doctor Strange is saying sever the tethers, take away its strength, and he's like, and like basically like, yeah, just get to the core of it, and like, you know, help these like all these people
because
out.
At one point you see him go in and like, you can see him sucking all of the energy from all these people, although it's not helping him any for him being inside of them. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It just wasn't. It wasn't like the greatest of wrap-ups. I
thought it was very lackluster.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give it a 4 only because of the bump up from the Adam Gorham art, because I thought this was the best drawn issue out of the series. And for some of the moments, I mean, I love Moon Knight, so I like that he was the one that kind of figured this out in the end. But for what it was, I mean, it wasn't a memorable miniseries. You could have easily passed on this, and like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, yeah, honestly, like I
mean,
like, it was just okay. I give it a 4. If not just for the story, I would have given it, for the art, I would have given it like a 3.5 more so. But
that's exactly what I was going to say. With this, if it was any other artist, it'd probably be a 3.5. But the art on this one looked really good. But I feel like you got not even an inkling of an actual backstory of why or how.
Well,
this actually happened.
We know it started in Kunlun. We know that somebody basically manipulated it so it could move on and basically affect like other people. Like, it was all mentioned in passing.
No, I know, but it wasn't like a weird like I know it gave you that, but usually you get like a little side, maybe.
Like, we shouldn't be struggling talking about it at this point after reading it week to week for the last 5 weeks. That's what I mean. Like, we shouldn't. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it just, even like, we read it and I read the explanation, but even so, like, the explanation like wasn't even that like that big of an explanation for us to warrant like this whole series. Like, it was just like, really, like that. So then like you got like a couple of pages of like them trying to explain what happened,
and then it was like, we're done.
And then not even that. At the end, they even went out of their way to explain, like, it wasn't like, is it gone? And then it reared its ugly head. Like, the thing even said at the end there, well, if this was like a horror movie or some shit like that, it would like.
It was like who said it? Petting a cat,
right? But then
he's like, oh, I'm gonna look and see if you're still
right.
If what did he say there?
He basically, you'd think maybe it would still be around and we should give it a further inspection. Like, it was something like that, but essentially he was saying, like, if it was a horror movie, like, it would be, you know what I mean? Like, we would, yeah.
Well, he goes, glad that's over. You know, buddy, if this was a horror movie, they'd end by showing you with some of that urchin stuff hiding somewhere on you.
But I would have...
He's holding a cat.
But I would have liked that.
I know, but then somebody interrupts him, like, hey, Blockhead, and he's like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Like,
And then he makes a joke about Yancey Street kids and how they're shitty, like, which is fine. It
ended nice.
It rings true to the character, but I'm like, why not just leave that little, like,
blob on the side of the cat?
I get what he was doing, because, like, he obviously is recognizing the fact people would be expecting that. But you know what? If this is a series and an idea that's out of continuity that you're never gonna fucking revisit, then why not do it?
Might as well put a little bubble there.
I would have been fine with that.
Me
like,
too.
all of a sudden, if, like, you see someone infected in the background,
even if they went on that, and then there was like one page at the very end that had like the cat with like a bobble.
Right.
I don't know.
I just think it's a lost opportunity. Why not end on that note?
I agree.
I just
agree.
It just fell flat for me in a bit. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was a lackluster story.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I'm fans of both. I mean, not with Adam Gormart. That was great.
No.
I'm a fan of Ed Brisson's. I just feel this
the storyline was
yeah, and I hate it because every time we talk about this book, it seems to take place during the time I've just read DCeased, and DCeased is it's far superior to this.
I agree.
Anyways,
they've got that down.
Yeah.
Well, they also took more time on it because it came out monthly, basically.
Right.
So my next book is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is issue number 10. This is written by Donny Cates with pencil by Corey Smith. So this one, I know you like the fact that Drax came back in his original form. We talked about this before, which I'm not as familiar with. But I actually really like this issue. I thought it was really good. Kate, remind me, what's the kid's name again?
The one that looks like Warlock?
Yeah.
The Magus.
The Magus,
He's the Magus, which is... I mean, you gotta know a lot of the Marvel cosmic stuff, but essentially, like, that's...
I don't know.
Like, it's like he was the evil version of Warlock, like, essentially. But this is a new idea on it, essentially. Like,
it didn't deter me from knowing this. I just don't know really who this kid was.
Yeah, that's what he's referred to as, though, in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoyed this. I liked the storyline with, Groot and that whole crew with dying Rocket and with Magus, obviously, I guess. And how Magus, like, took over these weird alien, I guess they're dogs. Teeth dogs.
Teeth dogs.
I don't know how else to refer to them.
It's a little strange.
But yeah, and like Groot's just sitting there with his moody ass self and his mohawk. And they're trying to get it, like, Groot's basically trying to recruit everybody. He's the one basically going, like, let's go, let's do this.
Right.
Yet he can't fucking function.
Yeah.
They all get him into the suit. He's still cracking jokes, although he can't survive this. And then you get the whole thing of Star-Lord with this Drax, and he's like, hey, like, you know me.
Right.
Like, we're friends. Like, I know you just came back, and I know you're not really you.
Yeah.
But, like, this is your background. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And then Drax comes out and is like, I'm not fucking this.
Meanwhile, they're dealing with this whole thing with Star-Lord's father being the head of this cult, and then, like, in these egg sacs, it turns out just to be a bunch of other Draxes.
Yeah, like crazy other Drac mutants.
Yeah.
I thought this was really good. I had a lot of fun with it. I gave this a 4. I did have a lot of fun, but I don't know the full context.
Right.
But I did actually really have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't blame you, because some of these things that they're referencing in this, you gotta know a lot of the old Marvel Cosmic stuff, and that's the problem with Marvel Cosmic, because it's so... There's so many great things that have happened and great ideas. I think that you need it's so connective, a lot of it, that you need to have, like,
a lot of the background.
Well, a lot of the writers, they pull from previous ideas,
sure.
right? So, like,
But this made it very reader friendly.
Yes,
it's not like you didn't like I said, I don't know a lot of the cosmic stuff.
He's done a fine job, Donny Cates, doing this.
It just will add to it if you know more.
Right, but I will say, for me, I'm a little bit disappointed in his run in Guardians, personally.
Yeah?
Yes, because I think that he abandoned the title too quick. This is issue 10. In issue 12, he's done with the title. They've already announced it.
I didn't even know that.
Because Jason Aaron's wrapping up with Thor, he's now going to be the new writer on Thor, which I'm totally on board for. I think it's a better fit. But in light of, like, all the great cosmic-y stuff he did with Thanos and Cosmic Ghost Rider, I thought his Guardians run was a little lacking, because I thought there was more promise to it, especially because
he knows that it was done.
Right.
Yes.
I think it was more of, like, a move creatively.
I'm here just to fill in the space
Right.
until I move on.
Or this other opportunity came up, and he's like, "I'm abandoning ship here."
Yes.
and he just
Essentially
because
the
the way
same.
this series started Guardians,
was
I thought
so fun.
right, I thought
Yeah.
it had a lot more promise. So for me at this point in the series, I'm a bit let down. So I'm putting a little bit of little baggage in here, like not just
Okay.
focusing on my review for this single issue, but just how I
In general.
overall feel about this now, because like. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed because I just don't think it's up to par with some of his other work. That being said, yeah, I am looking forward to his Thor. I just like he went to the lengths of even doing a side miniseries in Silver Surfer Black and bringing on a fantastic artist like Trad Moore, which essentially spun out of the first arc of this book, and it's going to end in 12 issues. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not even going to be any
resolution,
right?
There. Nothing.
So,
who's taking on the Guardians after?
Al Ewing, who,
I don't know who that is.
He's a pretty solid writer. I mean, I've liked a lot of his stuff that he's been doing over the years at Marvel, but he's more of an up and coming guy. Like he's writing the Immortal Hulk right now, which is a big, huge seller for them, which you haven't read. You should definitely check it out.
Okay.
I have the trades. So, anyways. So I give this 3.5. It was good. Art was solid. Corey Smith did a great job as always, but I think just overall, this is kind of for me. Just because I don't think it's up to par with some of his other works.
That's
like
fair.
I am judging it on its own merits as well. It's just
but the entirety as well is kind of
it just felt like such more like these cosmic stories. You need to make a big deal out of things. Where at this point, it's ending in 2 issues,
well,
and
I'm just like
I was like, it's okay, right?
Fair enough.
It's not bad.
That makes sense.
Anyways, next up we got DCeased, issue 6 of 6. This is the end of the DCeased miniseries. And I hope they do more of this. This is written by Tom Taylor, art by Trevor Harrison, and I'm just noticing right now while I'm looking at the credits, also with some pages drawn by Neil Edwards, who I'm not as familiar with, but he drew several pages in this. And actually, just flipping through it, he drew one of the best fucking 2-page spreads of this issue with this Kraken coming out of the water being controlled by zombie fucking Aquaman, which was just awesome. So, like, they both did a great job, but I'm not as familiar with Neil Edwards, but he did a great job. So much so I didn't even realize the difference between the two artists. I just got to that page and I'm like, wow, he killed this page, but it turns out it's a different artist. So yeah, maybe I just really appreciated what he brought to the table. Anyways, this was a great ending. I loved this fucking issue. This was fantastic. And for me, Tom Taylor, the reason I love this guy as a writer is, and he did Injustice prior to this, which was a little bit under the radar at the time, based off the video game.
Yep.
If you guys have never checked that out, it's definitely worth checking out. Again, it's like an out of continuity book that was based off the fucking video game, but Tom Taylor wrote it, and he had all these refreshing, different, interesting ideas with these characters, because with that book he can do whatever the fuck he felt like because it didn't matter to the fucking
it was whatever it was.
That is where this guy thrives. Like, he wrote some of the Earth 2 book for DC back when James Robinson left the title. He wrote that. He wrote this. This is where he thrives. Like, the interesting ideas and the connections he makes with these characters. Like, for instance, in this, Wonder Woman goes to forge a sword out of kryptonite to fight the Superman who's been now affected by this
the deceased
disease, and just a really cool, smart idea that I've never seen done before. Just like little tidbits like that. Like he the amount of ideas he throws away in this issue that I don't think I've ever seen done before. Like the little connections. Like there's a scene where he throws Cyborg throws the lasso of truth on Wonder Woman, which has been done before.
But Wonder Woman's also infected right now.
So, like, he uses it in a way to find out what would have been the solution to solving this, and then you find out that it was him. He was the Omega. Like, he was the start of all this. He is man and machine. So, in a way, like, he was the connection and the source of how to fucking
and the cure.
But by that time, the rest of the human race is already blasting off into space, and then he gets killed by her. I mean, like, almost no one is left standing at the end of this issue, but there's just these fantastic character moments and ideas that...
And, like, Superboy has to go in and, like, try to kill his father.
Right. And Black Canary now, who who is now wielding the Green Lantern. She uses it to make a megaphone for herself and uses her Black Canary powers and to amplify the fucking sound as Superman as she's attacking him. Like, if you ever thought, like, listen, how can Black Canary stand up against Superman?
There you go.
Guess what? You give her a Green Lantern ring and the idea of using her other powers. Yeah, it's what I mean. Like, little things like that, he really taps into, and it shows an understanding of the characters, and not only that, the creativity.
Level,
yes, so I really appreciate that about his writing and the level of creativity he brings to his books. He does. Yeah,
there's a lot of care that goes into that.
I mean, fucking, like I said, Aquaman comes out of the sea with a fucking kraken, and like,
which you've never. I don't think I've ever seen fucking Aquaman with an actual kraken.
That may have happened before, and I haven't read enough Aquaman, so for me it was cool.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, you had the relationship, like the talk between Jonathan and Damian now that they're basically now the Superman and Batman of their worlds, essentially, because both their fathers have been killed,
infected and killed,
right?
Yeah.
And by the end of this, they have to leave the Earth. So, like, the Earth basically is in ruin and destroyed, and the rest of the human race ends up having to leave. You had a great moment even with Ivy and Harley where they're saying, Ivy's like, I'm staying. I can't leave my plants. And then Harley's like,
I can't leave the green.
Yeah.
And then
Harley's like,
well, I can't leave her.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I'm sticking by her.
5. I mean, based on character alone, this is like, he just has such a love and understanding, it feels, for these characters. And
she got to know
the
characters in these, like, and again, it's only 6 issues. It's not like it was 12 issues.
Well, that's what I mean. And you had one other, I think, issue.
Yeah, random little side issue.
But comparing this to something like Contagion, where you got basically no character development, it was just like that's what I mean. Like, this was a no holds barred.
I appreciate this a lot more.
I gave it a 5. I loved it.
I gave it a 5 as well. It was so much fun. It was a great ending.
And the series built up because, like, there was
an actual legitimate ending.
Yeah. Not only that, but like when the series started off, I was like, oh, it's okay. But then like a couple issues in, I was like, wow, like this is getting crazy.
I liked it a lot more than you did at the start. I was gung-ho from the beginning.
But like once you got about halfway.
I even did a makeup thing about it.
You did. So yeah, that was great.
So my next one, I'm going to flip the narrative right now.
Okay.
I want to know your fucking opinion before I start on this
Why?
one. I just want to hear what you have to say.
Is this allowed?
It is. I can make up. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
This is Batman Annual number 4, written by Tom King with art by Jorge, I think is Fornes or George Fornes. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Sorry, since I was not expecting to read this book.
This book first.
Jorge Fornes or George, I'm sure it's pronounced Jorge though. And Mike Norton also drew several of the pages towards the end of the issue. This is the annual, so it's a little bit oversized, and it takes place outside of the story being told at the end of Tom King's last arc on Batman. I loved this fucking issue. I thought this was excellent. This was great. I loved it.
This is why I wanted you to review
this first. This is great. This is basically, this whole issue is like, again, a very Tom King idea and setup throughout the whole issue. You get the journal entries of Alfred telling day to day different fucking missions that Batman has gone on. And like, I guess for some people, it may have not been an enjoyable read, as I'm watching Christine's face right now, because it was very wordy and very formulaic in the sense it was the whole way through the same fucking setup throughout the whole issue. But I loved it. I mean, every journal entry you get like March 5th, March 6th, March 7th, and then you get like a 4 or 5 page beautifully drawn spread by George Fornes, who basically drew almost the whole thing. Until you get to the end of it, where he's just putting journal entry dates without fucking words, and they're just showing day to day the crazy fucking occurrences that happens to Batman. So basically this was just to show you the lengths that Batman goes to every day in the things that he does. I mean, sure, as a story, it didn't really give you any like starting and end arc of a story, but it gave you a kind of insight and look into what he does as Batman. I mean, he fights everything from dragons to fucking the undead, like vampires, like everything in this. Like, it even has some old throwbacky moments, like from the golden age of Batman that they put into this. Like, you get like that zebra fucking suit Batman in this. You get you get like him just doing research and finding things out and making friends, and even him in a football game for some reason, which is unexplained. It's hilarious though. I loved it. I mean, this is the day-to-day shit that this guy goes through to defend this city. And then the Jorge or George, whatever you pronounce it, Flores art is fantastic. Mike Norton even put in a great bunch of few pages here at the end. I loved it.
What'd you give it?
I gave it a 5. I come on now. I thought it was fantastic. I think this was a great issue. I mean,
see, this is why I wanted to start with you, because I fucking hated this issue.
Why?
I hated this issue.
Why though?
There's zero story.
There's a ton of story. There's like
zero. There's no through points to this. It's literally just like a page or two of fucking wacky stupidness, and then by the end of it, you get nothing. It's just like April 12th, April 13th,
right.
And it's just like a panel of nothing. I understand what it's doing. I get that it's supposed to be like, you know, this is the epic shit that he does every fucking day. But in your fucking day-to-day comics that you fucking read of this story, every fucking day isn't this fucking amazing.
Right, but for an annual that has that
it's dumb.
No,
I hated it.
You're wrong.
I hate it. I gave this a 2.5.
Wow.
I fucking
Did you see the artwork in this?
That's what I was just about to say. That had nothing to do with the art.
Wow.
The actual art I really liked. The art I loved.
Yeah.
The actual body and everything. Right. I hated.
You know what's funny? I think Tom King's writing, the more and more we go on, I find that this is the case with it. It's very polarizing because his ideas don't always hit home with people.
No.
Me, myself included. I haven't liked everything, but I can appreciate some of the things that he's going for.
I liked other things. Like, up to this, like, I've gotten a little stale with it.
I don't always like his setups, though. His setups always, that's what I mean. Sometimes, and you've seen this in Batman, the regular title, outside of the animal before. Some of the setups, I was like, fuck you to as well.
Yes.
This
I don't like.
I loved this.
I did not like it. Like, there was no beginning, middle, end. There was just fucking random
shit. It even tells you
shit.
On the cover
The
Diary of Alfred Penny.
I'm aware that it's the Diary of Alfred. But as
a narrative for a storyline in a single issue, to enjoy it. Okay.
It had nothing.
No, that's fair enough. But I'm just saying, if you go on into it with the fact knowing that these are essentially journal entries that an artist is illustrating. Okay,
so still, if it was a journal entry, and say, like, I would have felt differently about this if it was like, the first one was March 3rd, and then the second entry, which was a completely different story, would have been March 12th. So at least you had a chunk of time where this had happened, where he's fighting fucking 14 dragons at once.
No, but that's what was fun about it. Every entry was something crazier than the last.
It's so not believable. Okay, again, we're talking about Batman. It's not a believable situation.
That's what made it fun, though.
But no, because in our regular program Batman story, we spend fucking 18 fucking issues on Batman and Catwoman.
This is an annual, though. This is outside of the story.
I know. Yeah. But I'm talking about, like, the story.
Wow,
I know.
so passionate.
I am. I hated it.
No, hey, listen, that's what the show's about. You're entitled to your opinion. All right.
I wanted to read. I picked it first before you, and I wanted to read it.
I'll tell you right now, this was in running. This was in the running for favorite of the week for me. That's how much I love the issue. And this is a strong week. All right.
That's why I'm disgusted.
All right, moving on. All right, next up we got Kick-Ass, issue 18, written by Steve Niles, art by Marcelo Fruzen. This was a decent ending to this book. It hasn't been solicited so far, I think, in the next couple of months, so this might be the end. And the way it ended, it looks like it's actually going to be moving right into the Hit Girl book that's going on right now, because
I told you there were so many things that ended this week.
Yeah. So I believe this is the end. I mean, it does actually say the end on the last page. I didn't notice that till now. So yeah, so this ended. And it looks like, I think the last destination probably for the Hit Girl story is back to the US, because at the end of this, basically,
we're in India right now, so we'll probably be back here.
So you find out in this, like, it kind of wrapped up the storyline of this version of Kick-Ass, of the Mother X soldier that was dealing with a cartel essentially at the end of the day through her dealings, and a brother-in-law who worked for them, who's basically sold her out in this issue to kind of make his way to the top.
Money out of her.
Yeah. She ends up taking the leader of the cartel out in this issue in a brutal fashion.
Yes.
And then by the end of it, it seems like, she's going to she goes and kills the brother-in-law, finally, who's been basically the source of all her issues. I mean, she felt bad prior to that, to putting him in the hospital and actually keeping him alive to the lengths that she was going to play ball.
Yeah,
because she's married to his sister.
Yeah,
her sister, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, she's like, you know what, enough's enough. So she went fucking put the pillow over his face and suffocated him. And yeah, by the end of this, she's watching on the news all this shit that was just reported with the cartels, who basically is what Hit Girl has been going around the world and doing herself.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I guess it looks like I'm heading back to the States as she's watching.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? That was actually an interesting way to kind of tie it in.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4, though. I thought it was a pretty solid ending. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but I thought that
for the way the book went.
Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to the Hit Girl, and I hope that Mark Millar comes back to write that series, since he's been given the reins over to other writers this whole time. So I guess we'll see.
And I know you liked the cover of this.
Yes. Lots of boobs.
Very booby cover.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I actually quite enjoyed this. I gave it
I'm glad you agreed with me on something after that fucking Batman conversation.
That was so bad. But yeah. No, I actually really enjoyed this. I thought it was a very fitting ending. I did like the the Hit Girl moment at the very end. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
At the very end. So yeah, I gave this a 4 as well. It was a very fitting ending, and I really appreciated that.
Yep.
So my next one is Dead Man Logan. I will talk about this first, don't worry. This is the ending of this book as well, which is issue 12 by Ed Brisson and Mike Henderson. I loved this. I loved this ending. This was such a fitting...
I hated it!
Perfect ending.
It was terrible.
You could have. I don't know.
I did.
I didn't. But yeah, no, like, you got everybody in here. You got, what's her face? What the hell was her name? Danny?
Yeah.
Danny as Thor, and you still had the Hulk, and then you have Wolverine doing his last, like, hurrah, basically, because he took the last dose of his, healing potion, essentially. And they ended up killing, Sabretooth. They killed... The moment I remember you laughing when they killed Sinister.
Yeah.
It was just like...
It was just like, honestly, the 2 deaths that occurred in this issue were so brutal.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa.
Like, Sinister's head just, like, exploded in this green, mushy way.
Yeah, all you see is the hammer get thrown towards him, and then you don't even see his head there. All you see is...
eyeball fly. You just see, like, literally all I can think of is, like...
Yeah, like the Thor's hammer just went straight through his skull,
yeah.
But you don't even see the skull. Like, you just see
like an eyeball in green.
Yeah. What was the skull? Yes. It was great.
But yeah, and then literally after that, they're all in the truck, and all Wolverine wants to do is get back to his family who had died, like where they're buried. And then he has a whole thing of like talking to them, which was so fucking emotional.
Yeah.
Then he died, and then they ended up burying him. Danny and the Hulk buried him.
Yeah.
And they were basically saying, we've got to continue. We've got to go on. This isn't what Wolverine would want.
Right.
And it was fucking emotional. I gave it a 5.
Yeah, you hit on it. For me, the first half of the issue is like, you knew everything was going to come to a head in this fashion. The surprising part and great part about that was basically like you just said, the deaths for me. Like, those were just so brutal deaths that when they threw down. But then the second half is what really got to me in this issue, was that emotional attachment I have to this character, and even... encompassing
even this 12 issues. No, like, they really made you.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's even encompassing the original Old Man Logan series because of his connection to his family who died, like, in this world and this time. And if you've read this, even from the past series that Jeff Lemire started writing, and then Brisson came in through halfway through, we've been with these people for over 60 fucking issues.
Yeah.
So, at least Old Man Logan. So, like, as much as I hated the fact that they kind of brought him back in light of losing the Wolverine that we all know, I thought this was just such an emotional and great ending to this
Yeah.
series that I really appreciated. So, and it did have a lot. Like I had a lot going like into this, like emotional
sure.
attachment, I
Well,
guess, to
yeah.
this version. So I gave it a 5 as well. I think for me that it really stuck the landing with that second
It did.
part,
It
though.
really did.
And I was talking with you about this prior to recording today, but they're having a 5-issue miniseries that he's going to be called. It's going to be called Avengers of the Wasteland that Ed Brisson's
Yeah.
going to be writing. That's going to be following up with these characters, Danny and the Hulk, and all that in
That's
the same
awesome.
world. So
I can't wait for that.
we might have to check that out in issues
feel like
now
we
because,
got it.
like, I was like, and that's why I guess she said that our story's going to continue,
Yeah.
and it is. So
We can't leave off.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't want us just to dwell.
Yeah.
We've got to move on.
So next up, we got Joker, Killer Smile, Book 1. This is from the DC Black Label line of books. And so it's a little bit of an oversized issue, more like it's a wider, larger issue
It's like a
than
magazine.
regular. Yeah,
almost.
exactly,
Yeah.
magazine size, you could say. This is written by Jeff Lemire, art by Andrea Sorrentino, which I don't know where he found the fucking time to draw this in between this and Gideon Falls and the occasional Marvel
So
issue he still
good.
does.
I love him.
I loved his Joker version in this. He drew a great Joker because it was such a great Joker because, like, it wasn't over the top. It was a little understated.
Yeah.
But, like, it was creepy looking and, like,
But, like, more
human
realistic.
looking. Yeah.
It's like a realistic creepy.
I really appreciated his Joker. Basically, yeah, this is just like as opposed to the Harleen book that's coming out right now through Black Label. This was a story just really diving deep into the Joker and like the psychosis that follows him, and with another doctor and the long line of doctors that's tried to help him, trying to analyze him, but then he gets in his head like Joker does, and Joker's known to do, and then he's basically trying to figure out if the things that are around him, if he's doing it for the right reasons. Is he trying to help this guy because he's trying to elevate his own status as a doctor, or is he really just trying to get to the core of like helping out people that are this fucking crazy, like in his line of work? So in this, like, they say, listen, you're done in another 2 weeks. Like, don't get too involved. So then, he goes home and you see his whole home life. He's got a daughter and he's got a wife but then he starts reading like a storybook, and then the art changes to like a storybook fucking like style.
It's like Happy Tree Friends, if anybody knows what that is.
Yeah,
it's essentially Happy. If you don't, look that up.
But then it turns very violent. And he's like, what the hell is this? And the kid's like, Daddy, you brought this book home for me. And he's like, sorry, not a daughter. He has a son. No, is it? I don't know. No, it's a son. Sorry, I said daughter. So yeah. So he's like, I don't remember this. He's like, whoa, this is violent. He's like, and then he like,
what the fuck is this?
Yeah, and then meanwhile he goes back for another session by the end of the issue, and then the Joker starts bringing up the storyline from
basically saying all the words.
So not only has he gotten in his head, but he's already infiltrating his life somehow, or he's like hallucinating when he goes outside of the office. Like, so it's really just more of a story about how the Joker
manipulates life.
Yeah, and treats his doctors that actually, it has a lot of relation to actually the other book we'll be talking about this episode as well, I would say. Andrea Sorrentino, we love his art. He really brought it with this. I think it looked great in this format, a little bit of an oversized format. And Lemire actually touched on a lot of things like from Joker's history as well, like for the laughing fish and like which is a Joker storyline and these kind of things. Anyways, I loved it. I give it a 5. I thought I really enjoying this DC Black Label titles that they've been bringing out so far, and I think it really gives a creative team a little bit of own continuity room to tell an interesting story. So it's been good.
And a really good way to like display the art.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit bigger format.
Yeah.
I fucking loved this too. Like all the things that you said, like the fact that this looked like, Happy Tree Friends came into this, which I loved growing up, which tells my enjoyment. But yeah, like he has his whole. He's got like a Rorschach. What's those things called?
Rorschach.
The splatter.
Yeah, Rorschach test. It's like the ink
that's
blots.
what it's called.
Yeah. That's why Rorschach from Watchmen's name is Rorschach. Yeah.
I thought so. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. The art was phenomenal. I loved, like, the connection that he had, like, the conversations that they had. Like, you can say not a lot happened in this, but there was a lot of character-driven moments.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't, like, big wow moments.
Right.
It was just the conversations had were so impactful that it made such a difference.
Well, that's why I think the Joker and Harleen series have been good, is because they're just very they're analyzing these characters. I don't want to say
basic, but they are. They're not like very in your face. They're just very basic to their core.
Yeah.
Like they're a conversation.
Yeah, they're analyzing the characters.
Yes,
that's all it is. Yeah.
I gave this a 5. I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Yeah.
So I was going to talk about this later, but I might as well just slip this in because it works in this time frame. This is the Harleen book. This is issue number 2. Can you please say the name, because I can never say it?
Stepan Sajic, I think.
Thank you. Yeah. This was a little bit. This is
written
not
and
a
drawn
little
by
bit.
him.
This is a lot larger than the Joker.
Yeah, by at least 20 more pages, I would say. Yeah.
So this one has a little bit more girth to it.
Yeah. And it's very wordy. It's a wordy son of a bitch.
Yes, it is. But it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's good. So at the very beginning, you get a little bit of a future. Like, the first 3 pages are kind of, like, in the future. And Harley has her outfit on, and she's with the Joker, and she's smashing somebody's face in that, like, insulted him. And then you immediately go into her now, where from the last issue now, she's become very involved in drinking to cope with her new position here in Arkham. So she drinks a lot to try to cope. She's kind of losing hope in her whole research. She's also now wondering, like the Joker book.
It's getting into his head. Getting to her head,
He's getting into her head. Yeah. So now, like the Joker book that we just read with this different doctor, she's also questioning her motive for her whole research. Is it just because, her ego is too big and she thinks that she can cure all these horrible people? Or does she actually think that she can help them?
Yeah.
Or does she just want it to look good on her record? I thought this was fantastic. Like, all the moments between it, like, she's so torn. Like, she's looking into shit. He's really getting into her head. Then she tries to help Ivy, and like even Ivy started to get to her, which kind of ties into her whole thing nowadays.
I liked that moment because she was thinking of the Joker while she was analyzing her, and then she's like, "Oh, your hormones are going up."
Which is the whole thing in like the Harley Quinn books now is that they kind of have a romantic fling.
He did
even
that,
though it wasn't actually Ivy that she's thinking about, it's
the
Joker, but her hormone levels are changing thinking about the Joker.
Yeah.
And then the whole Two-Face story in this, the whole Two-Face storyline was so good. I thought they did a really good job depicting him.
Yeah.
And like
he didn't do a bad job. I've seen it.
Well, it was different. Well, we've all seen all of these things, but like it was different enough.
But that's what I mean. Myself personally, I'm looking for the things that maybe haven't been explored as much in this storyline, just because it is such an overwrote thing at this point.
But like I did like the way that they wrote him and how he did try to stay but normal, and like the way that they wrote the fact that it was a chemical concoction that changed his brain essentially, which made him go more crazy rather than just like the effects of the deformities. I did like that kind of realization, and then the fact that Harley was just like at the end untying the Joker because she was like, I can't get any further, I don't know what I'm doing. She ends up untying him, and then they end up in their embrace, which they kind of started out in. I gave it a 5.
About halfway through this, I thought it was good. I didn't know if I was going to give it as high of a rating as you. But a couple of things that worked for me quite a bit towards the end was the one moment in particular where she comes to the conclusion that she, coming in the long line of doctors that have already overanalyzed him to death, that there is many few simple questions that you could have asked him and addressed him by that he never actually has gotten asked about. Like, do you feel remorse for the killings you've done? Like, instead of trying to figure out his origins or why he does the things he does, like accept all that, but try to get more to the core of the individual and like, does he feel anything? And she was so sidetracked, but thrown off by his answers to that she wasn't even prepared on her end to address what he was coming, because he came at her with a very honest and
very direct
response, as opposed to like trying to play her like a fiddle. But as a result,
he did play her like a fiddle.
Yes, exactly.
He
so
still
like,
knew how to manipulate
I just think that was such a smart move on the writer's part to kind of tap into that. I don't think I've ever seen that done.
No, it's
as
like
many times as this story has been told. Yeah, I was like, that was very well done, and a lot of the dialogue with her felt very real life. Like, it felt. A lot of the dialogue, like he wrote for these characters, sounded like very authentic. Yes. Like, not just fucking like hokey fucking dialogue because it's going to get to the next plot point in this comic.
Yeah.
While some of it definitely was, there was a lot of moments. Just even her relationship with the guard that works at Arkham, who's like, I've seen this before. Like, he's trying to like guide her because he knows like she's new to the staff, and like even just like her reactions to things, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it just like dealing with life as like a single woman who's wrapped up in her work, and even the questions she asked Batman, like, it's like, it felt very real life, like genuine conversation.
Yes,
so
I agree.
That topped up with the art. I also gave this a 5. I mean, I went back and forth with this issue. I didn't think I was going to give it that much, but by the end, I was like, yeah, this was a pretty solid fucking issue. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. This has been a great series so far. So, yeah, I'm enjoying the DC Black Label, some of these titles. All right, next up, I got Marauders #1. This is written by Jerry Duggan, art by Matteo Loli. This came out actually last week. This was the first of the other series that were spinning out of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men kind of relaunch, essentially. Yeah. And I figured, you know what? I might as well pick up the first issues of all these series, because we've been so invested in the week-to-week events of the X-Men titles, and I'm kind of really on board with this whole like resurgence of the X-Men, where behind Hickman I could be like, you know what? I actually believe in this for once, and maybe I will try out some of these other titles, because I might miss out on something week to week talking about. Although this is like another monthly title, not week to week. But I'm going to flip it on you now. I'm going to make you talk about this first. Since, you know, this is our show, we can do whatever we want. So, yes, I would like to hear what you think about this first before I go.
So this one basically was people that I'm not overly familiar with. So I know Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, I was about to say, you know Kitty, yeah.
But I'm not like
Kate now.
Super, yeah, it's Kate.
Yeah.
I'm not super knowledgeable of her. And I also don't know why she can't go through these portals.
That's new to this. That's what I mean.
Oh,
this is, you've read all the Hickman stuff leading into this.
No,
anything now you should just consider
part of that.
Yeah.
Yes, that new resurgence. But I didn't recall if anything had happened that she couldn't.
No, this is newly established in this issue. Although some of these things will carry on in other books. We'll talk about it a little bit. For sure,
yes. But it was just one of those moments where I was just like, did I miss something?
Nope.
Or do I just know? Okay, so yeah, she can't go through these portals. So basically she has
portals to Krakoa that have been set up as a result of around the world from the Hickman run,
So basically she's got to take the long route and take like this whole journey to get there. She gets there, and then they basically... what I loved is that she... sorry, I'm laughing to myself.
It's okay, yeah.
Wolverine had asked her to bring along like a list of things.
Yeah, and then like it goes to a very Hickman-like list.
Specific list of his like his.
It's earlier in the issue.
It's essentially his grocery list.
Yeah.
And it literally... Oh, no, that's not right either.
He's like, Kitty, I need you to grab these things for me. And it's like 2 cases of Canadian Club whiskey and like beer. It's coming up.
Here it is. Kitty, I owe you one. Here's my list. Ribs, Canadian Club whiskey, suds, Cubano sandwiches, pomade, and coffee.
Pomade, which he must use in his hair. That's why he's like, keep that one to yourself. He's the notes. He's like, don't tell anyone.
The Dapper Dude one, and keep that under your hat. Okay, so I'll just read this out really quickly. Yeah. So it says ribs, From rendezvous in Memphis. They'll FedEx to you. Have dry ice ready. Canadian Club whiskey. Just a couple of cases should do for now. Suds. Load the rest of the hold with as many cases as you can. I prefer bottles, but maybe go with cans in case you hit rough seas.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah. He's thinking of everything now.
Yeah.
Cubano sandwiches from the wine cellar in the village. Cram as many as you can into a cooler. Pomade, the dapper one, and keep that under your hat. Coffee. I'm trying to get Doug to get the island to grow some for us. Until then, make sure it's ground for a cone. I got Forge to whip up a solar coffee machine.
Yeah.
It was just funny. But yeah, like, so you get that kind of like down to earth humor. The fact that they're going to this new land. It's completely new. Nothing has really been established. And it's fucking ridiculous. And it's so much fun. So yeah, and then you kind of go through, they're going to all these different fucking worlds that she's got to get to, and...
Well, different places in the world, like...
Yes. Different places in the world, not different worlds, which fucking happens too.
Yeah.
Just not in
It
this
is
one.
X-Men.
Yes. But
That's the other book you're going to talk about.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I loved her fucking little... what's his name?
Oh, Lockheed.
Lockheed.
Yeah,
I love
that's the
Lockheed.
little dragon. Yeah, that's her
the
companion.
I couldn't think of his name.
Lockheed.
Yeah, like I actually quite enjoyed this. I thought it was quite fun. And the actual little things in this. Oh, the also thing that they did that connected it to was the little sinister secrets at the end.
Yes,
they did that in one of the other ones, so they actually continue that.
See, but that's what I've liked about these titles so far, because like they're working with Hickman on this a little bit,
and
like he's overseeing it. Yeah.
It's not like it's so far removed.
But that's what I mean. The Logan's List is like a Hickman like info fucking graphic
page.
They
still use the infographic pages, but I gave that a 4.5. I really enjoyed it.
I also gave this a 4.5, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as you did, because I loved this book. As an aside to Hickman's more serious X-Men series, this is a hell of a lot of fun. Yes, that's what I mean. Like, when I heard about this book, like, that's why I was like, okay, maybe I need to start trying out the first issues of all these. I heard another podcast talk about this. I'm like, this sounds like fun. Like, apparently Jerry Duggan just like, I want to write a pirate book, and that's what this fucking is. Like,
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde is
pirate
captaining a ship of mutants to bring back mutants who can't get through their respective portals around the world, because they're opening up in random spots. And some places, like in this issue, for instance, like in Russia, the government is against them going over there. So like when you break it down, it's very simple and wacky and fun. But then when you really think about it, there's all this like border fucking and like political issues. That's what I mean. Like, right. So like I was like, the more you get into it, the layers are there. Like, like the second half of this issue felt very more smart and sophisticated. That's what I mean. But then it was so fun with the start with Logan and this and that. I was like, yeah, I'm on board. I'm reading this title now, issue to issue. I loved it. I give it a 4.5 only because it was a lot of setup.
It was
only because it was a lot of setup. But I love the ideas within it, and I'm totally on board with the book. And the art was great too. Matteo Loli killed it. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to more.
They're pirating it.
They're fucking pirates. I mean, that's what it's a pirate book with the X-Men. All right.
So my next one is Silver Surfer Black, issue number 5. This is the last issue of Donny Cates and Tradmore's run here, or little mini series here. This Tradmore looked phenomenal. Just looked so good. I loved the fact that this kind of had Silver Surfer come, like, basically he got deconstructed, he reconstructed himself. He really has like internal issues of, or like even knowing that he's, you know, turning dark and he's trying really hard not to, but at the same time he has to turn like somewhat dark but keep some light in him. Like, there's a lot of internal turmoil here while fighting what's his face. Do you remember his name?
Yeah, Null, the guy who took over that the symbiote, the all black sword, the necro sword. Yeah,
that's the one I'm thinking of. Sorry, I couldn't think of his name.
No worries.
Yeah, so they actually have a full on fight here, and Basically, you see Norrin Rad or Silver Surfer.
Yep, that's
almost
his name.
like fully combust at this point. Like he knows he can't win, but he finds a way in him to basically sacrifice himself
and regenerate him, like
recreate
himself.
Created seeds and planted himself in like ego, basically.
Right.
And used all of his power that he had left.
Yeah.
And created this crazy fucking looking flower.
Yeah.
And regenerated himself that it expanded to the entire universe and all the worlds that he had already like eaten or like exploded or destroyed.
Yeah, with Galactus.
Yeah, he used it all to heal all of that basically, and then he pulled energy from them to basically reconstruct himself.
Yep.
And then he officially became Silver Surfer Black.
Yeah.
I loved this issue. I gave it a 5. I thought it was great.
I mean, I love your enthusiasm and the way that you explain the story at the end of this. I mean, you did a better job that I think they did depicting it. So, like, he's just now going to be for Silver Surfer Black? Is that what you got from this? Like, now he's just black? Okay. Yeah.
Not that he's like a reconstructed form. He's no longer what the original Silver Surfer was. Now he's a whole new
I don't know. The story
collected energy form.
Yeah. I gave this a 4. I think Tread More is phenomenal. I can't wait till the Treasury edition, which is like almost like an absolute size, like paperback, almost like the X-Men basically the X-Men Grand design size paperbacks that they've been releasing, guys. If you guys are into collected editions, they're releasing this mini-series in that size of a paperback, so I'll be picking that up myself because I think the art is just going to sing so like much more. I mean, somewhere down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if they put it in like an omnibus or something like that, but this is going to be a Treasury size, even larger, like almost like absolute size, like from DC, like size paperback. So I'll be picking that up. Like, so yeah, that'll be collecting the miniseries. So that, I mean, I'm sure that art is going to sing in that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. The story was okay, I thought, throughout the miniseries. I mean, I think Silver Surfer is a hard character to kind of write stories for because
I don't know, the last one we read was awesome
by Dan Slott. Yeah, but that was very different, I think, from most other series.
I don't know about this
was more in tune with, I think, a lot of the other Silver Surfer.
The last 2 were the only ones that I've ever read, so I really don't have a lot to pull from.
At the end, when they kind of referenced the Mobius Stan Lee parable story, and they kind of said, rest in peace to him, and they kind of gave they went out on the nod to his stuff for Stan. It said at the end of this, I was like, see, that makes a little bit more sense, I think.
Okay.
But anyways, I liked it. I just didn't think the story was as phenomenal as you did. I thought it was just good.
Fair enough.
But I gave it a 4. Yeah. Savage Avengers Annual #1. This was a hell of a lot of fucking... I love this fucking book. I love this fucking series, man. I like when it's so ridiculous. Like, I like to have fun with my books. I mean, I don't always need... That's what I mean. Like, in comparison, like, that story was just like, whatever. This is over the top and fucking ridiculous.
Crazy,
yeah, I mean, this story, you had... It was essentially, again, this is the annual, so it's outside, I guess, of the ongoing story, but also tying into it because it did track Conan's travels, and it seems like he's been focusing more on Conan ever since the group all split up from each other, because the last story was about him, Conan and Punisher.
Conan, very centric book.
Right, and then this is about Conan basically meeting up along his travels with Black Widow and Damon Hellstrom. It was just ridiculous, but all 3 of them get pulled to the same place in Brazil to take down fucking slave trafficking, basically, which is just like something that actually occurs, which is real life. But like you had like the son of fucking Satan show up with Black Widow and fucking Conan, who's the book opens up with them showing Damon Hellstrom like lolling about in hell, like bored. Okay, and he's like, like someone just prayed to, like, not, almost like someone praying to God, like someone's like basically, I'll give my life up to the Satan himself, kind of thing.
Basically
like,
trying to say like, I will do anything for
someone to figure this out. So, and then it turns out like that's one of the slave people, and then it cuts to fucking Conan in a whorehouse in Brazil. Then he
not impressed.
Yeah, not impressed with the horse. Then like. And then, like, the guy's like, "Si, senor," and the fucking horse, like, and then, like, he takes a fucking, and then he takes umbrage with his response to him, so he takes a fucking table, and decapitates somebody with it.
Yep, that happened.
He literally swipes at a table at somebody and, like, takes his head off, and then they're like...
But then all the whores are so, like, enamored with him at that point, they throw themselves at him.
Then he, like, kisses the whore and takes their crystal, like, their fucking diamonds, and he's like, "I'll take care of this."
Because then he's like, "I'm not interested right now."
I know. He's like, "I'm so angry. I don't..." Oh my god, just so much fun.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the jungle, and then he runs into the Black Widow, who of course he's like, "Ooh, look at this redhead." and then David
I didn't like those whores that were naked, but this one.
Yeah, David Hellstrom shows up and, like, starts, like, fucking putting people on fire. Yeah. It's just, like, so much fun. And Ron Garney drew it. I love Ron Garney. I mean, Ron Garney, who we last saw in, I guess, Charles Soule's Daredevil, and he also did an arc of a Conan book with Jerry Duggan as well. He did he did an arc of Savage Sword of Conan, the new relaunched. He did the first 5 issues with him. Oh man, so much fun. Anyways, it ties back into the regular story of, like, I guess some of, like, these, like, demonic, like, fucking people that they're going after, like. And also kind of connects to, like, people from Conan's world, I guess. Yeah. Like, yeah, anyways, I give it a 5. It's so much fun, so ridiculous, fantastic art. Ron Garney's art style, this new rough, weird art style that he's adapted, at least over the last few years, I love. Anyways.
I give it a 5, too. I thought it was fucking insane. Yeah. And just, like, so off the rails and bonkers. I loved it. So going right from that, essentially a Conan book, but that is Savage Avengers. I will talk about the Conan book, which is issue number 10. This is written by Jason Aaron, drawn by Mahmoud Asrar. This had very little Conan in it, but I fucking loved it because it had the creepy ass kids with their creepy ass mother, which is dead with their head chopped off but come back to life. Which, you know what this reminds me of? What? Friggin' whatchamacallit, the one that we have.
Yeah, that really explained lots to me. Fuck. The one that we have, Headlopper.
Headlopper.
There you go.
That's what
the
I'm
other
going
Conan
for.
book. Yeah, I somehow guessed it.
I know, you just know my depictions of things. Because basically Headlopper has the fucking head of a witch. Yes. And this is the headless mother of these demonic kids. I thought this book was really, again, this is so fucking off the rails, but it's so fucking good. I like that this gave you a little bit more into the actual kids that keep showing up in this, with the creepy ass dead witch. Yeah. So I like the fact that you now know why they're at the end of every story. Yeah. Because they're waiting to actually get Conan. They're waiting for the proper time to take his blood to complete a whole spell, basically.
Yeah, because, like, this started up as the main story of this title, but they've been basically playing in the background. You get, like, 2 pages of these guys every other issue, and
or just at the very end. Of it,
we've been experiencing old tales of Conan as he's been held hostage by these people. Yeah. So in this one,
I thought this was pretty cool. The way they tied it in, and you basically saw every storyline that they went through, and you just see them like, not yet.
Well, yeah, like you showed them, they visited him when he was with the lion, like they visited him, and
exactly, and they literally he's not ripe yet, which is such a weird fucking thing to hear as a person. Right. I gave this a 5.
I think for some of the reasons why you loved this is the reason I didn't love this as much as I usually do. Not enough Conan. I loved the device of the storytelling of how he's been setting all this up. Jason Aaron has been masterfully weaving everything together. Yeah. But I'm more so looking forward to the next issue at this point, because I've been enjoying the one and done stories of Conan from his past. Like, for me, I've loved that part of this book, as opposed to this story's not bad and I'm looking forward to it concluding. But for me, so I give this a 4. Okay. I still thought it was pretty good, very good as always.
About a 4?
Yeah, but not on the level that you enjoy it. And last off for me, I got Venom issue 19, written by Donny Cates, art by Ivan Coelho. Absolute Carnage tie-in, of course, because it's still going on. I thought this was fine. I mean, they kind of backtracked a bit in some of the storytelling that's been going on, and also the Donny Cates written story. So I think that when you do these tie-in issues, it becomes a little bit messy sometimes based on the timelines as when they come out. So for me, they kind of backtracked and then kind of went pushed forward to like where we were at currently with this whole master and basically his son and all of the superheroes figuring out like this machine and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, maker is what I meant, the maker. But yeah, I just thought it did a little bit of bouncing around where I was scratching my head. I'm like, didn't this stuff already happen? And meanwhile, I had forgotten the fact that in the Venom book, they were basically focusing on his son's side of the story. So they're retelling a lot of the events that have already moved forward in the Absolute Carnage book.
In his view, though.
Right, exactly. But the big part about this issue is the fact that one of those other symbiotes now has turned himself into a guardian of sorts to his son, who is something we don't know. Yeah, but he's something that seems to be even more powerful than the symbiotes itself. Like, whatever he is.
Where they can't connect to him.
I think it may be because he's the spawn of Venom, yeah, that he's maybe something even more powerful of Eddie Brock, right? Because he is his son. And then at the end of the issue, we had like the line of how are you going to tell your father what you are? And meanwhile, on the other side of things, you have the father. Are you going to tell your son that you're his father?
Yeah,
so like,
it's not your brother.
And I get and in doing so, this symbiote has transformed himself into a fucking symbiote cat as a guardian. And I swear to fucking God, this is going to be the most popular character now moving forward. Watch, yeah, I see.
I love
fucking
him.
Symbiote cat. You're the sucker that falls for these things.
They're like, oh, I'm not really a fan of dogs. He's like, how about this? And he's like, sickest fucking looking cat I've ever seen.
As soon as I read this, I was just shaking my head. I'm like, oh fuck, fandom is gonna eat this shit up. I'm like, damn, Donny Cates just tapping this fucking cat's thing. I'm like, oh my God.
Videos.
Yeah. Anyways, I give it a 4 though. I thought it was a pretty solid issue, but again, nothing crazy.
I'd say I'd give this a 4.5.
Yeah, because of the cat, right?
I love the cat.
Yeah, you just eat it up. Jesus.
I did.
All right.
Yeah, there's not much I can really say more to that, but the cat was fucking awesome.
Oh my God.
4.5.
I think that's a symbiote too that was trying to help him before. I forgot his name. Like, but it's.
I don't remember the symbiote's name.
But that's what it was. It was like a symbiote that I think was introduced earlier. Remember, he was talking with that one, and they tried to help him with the maker. Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't connect to him. We don't know why.
Right.
But
anyways.
I'm sure we will find out.
All right. Lastly,
so the last issue of the night is Excalibur #1, which is written by Teeny Howard with art by Marcus Toe. So this I didn't know anything about, and it literally starts off with like a whole Excalibur style, like time framed storyline of this woman who's like a Queen Morgan Le Fay, which I know the name and I can't remember.
Yeah, she's a bad guy from the Marvel Universe, so you've probably seen her pop up in other things before.
Okay,
yeah,
I don't recall where she came.
Doctor Strange, I think she was in that Jason Aaron's run at some point. Yeah.
But yeah, and all of a sudden, like, she drowns this other guy in like a pool of water.
Yeah.
And then we jump to basically Apocalypse, like in the now times with what's her face? What the hell's her name?
Formerly Psylocke, but it's Betty Braddock in this.
That's his name. That's her name. Sorry. And she's got like 2 brothers, which is Captain
Britain is one of them, and then Jamie Braddock is the other one. Yeah.
Which I'm not familiar with them really at all. So I actually really liked this, knowing nothing about it.
Really?
I actually really liked this.
Interesting.
It was very reader friendly. Once I got through the first part and kind of was like, huh?
Really? Because I thought, okay, this is just strange, because I thought you were going to come to me and be like, you're like, this is not reader friendly. Because I mean myself, even knowing a little bit about these characters, I thought it wasn't.
I didn't think I needed to know.
You don't need to know, but I
didn't think you needed to know I didn't need to know the backstory in all of these characters.
Interesting. I was expecting another reaction.
I had a lot of fun with this. I loved the art. The art was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I liked the whole idea of her, like like her going into this other world,
right?
Of what was it?
Other world. Yeah, that's what it's called. The other world. Yeah.
Which is essentially
like old school
Excalibur times,
right.
Which makes 100%
well, that's
sense
Captain Britain is basically what he is he, as far as I know, he is the one that looks over the other dimensions.
Which is what I got from this.
Yes.
Or yeah, I got that he doesn't look over like everything. What I got was that like he's the hero of Otherworld and like other places.
He is, but as a result, like he's like the parallel universe, like kind of like
overseer.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, if that's what you got from it,
that is essentially what I got.
That
from
is what
this,
he is.
Who is also her brother.
Yes.
And they wanted, because they couldn't get through to this other world because of a magic spell. She went back to the original time from Krakoa to her time, used him, and instead of like bringing him back to Krakoa like they had planned, he already had alerted that there was problems.
Yeah.
And went to Otherworld,
right.
Which she was like, "Fuck this! I'll come with you." And then they went there, and
interesting.
I really, really liked
wow.
this. I actually had a lot of fun.
I'm shocked because you're so you're it just. I mean, that just speaks to the strength, I think, of these X-Men books, the rollout of this line. I mean, like, because I didn't know if you were going to love this one.
No,
so.
I actually thought it was quite fun. The other guy made me laugh, too. Her other brother that, like, got reborn, because I guess he was dead. I don't know who he was beforehand. But he was dead, and then he just seems like a dick.
I think Jamie is Captain Britain, I think.
Well, either way.
I forgot, but yes.
I can't remember who is who, but the one that's... Oh, and the other thing that kept making me laugh is they're all like, but you can call me by this. And then fucking...
See, that annoyed me.
Apocalypse is like, you can call me by...
Yeah, and it's like a symbol. Yeah.
I'm Prince now, and you can call me by this symbol. I just thought it was so cheesy. It was funny. Because they all could do something that they wanted.
That quite frankly annoyed me, because reading this after Marauders, she's like, I'm fucking... I'm not Kitty, I'm Kate now. And then this was like, he mentioned it 3 fucking times in this issue. I'm not Apocalypse.
Well, because every person was different.
What's his name?
That said it, though.
Try something? Guard or never mind, that's this other fucking Trinary character, so I'm way off. Yeah, see, it just annoyed me. Everyone's changing fucking names now, and I'm not this person, I'm that person. Like, I don't know.
Reborn on Krakoa, they can start as anything they want
well,
to.
that's the whole point of it, right? They're rejuvenating themselves, recreating their identities. Yeah, whatever.
I gave this a 4.5.
Wow, you liked this a lot more than I did, and I'm surprised that you did, because I didn't think you would be as like in tune with what was going on in this. I thought you were going to be thrown off or confused by a lot of these things. But, you know, I think that speaks to the line and the fact that this is supposed to be a fresh start for a lot of X-Men fans. So, yeah. Interesting. So let me ask you, do you have interest in continuing in reading this in issues then?
I liked this one enough that I would continue.
Interesting. Okay, we might have to then. I liked it enough. I give it a 4. I just didn't think it was as fantastic as you did. Not only that, I thought you were going to have trouble with comprehending maybe some of the things that were going, or the relationships between these characters. But I guess that was just me reading into it too much. And, you know, I liked how they kept Gambit and Rogue married, though, in this, because I was worried about that going in. I thought they were just going to change so many things with this new X-Men launch that would change, and that was one of the solid things I think that they actually, like, changes they made prior to all this Hickman stuff, was that they got married, and if they sustain that marriage, I think that's really good for those two characters, because I think it takes 2 undervalued characters that a lot of people are fans of, yet together, I think
they make a better...
Yes.
Like, story, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, I give it a 4. All right. So, what is your favorite of the week, Christine? Because I might need more time to think on this. It's very hard for me.
I'm gonna probably shock you with this one.
All right.
Do you have any inkling of what it could be?
No. I mean, obviously, the go-to for me would be Harleen for you.
It's not.
But that's why I think when you said I'm going to shock you, I was like, oh, okay, so it's probably not. Batman Annual 4? Is it
totally. No, I think I got to go with Old Man Logan, or Dead Man Logan.
Wow, really?
I don't know. That hit the feels.
It did.
I loved it.
It did. I agree with you on that. It definitely did. So let me just put a pile here of ones I know that it's not.
Yeah,
based
I don't
on
know.
ratings.
I really enjoy that myself. So
Okay. All right. I'm just sorry. I know this is very interesting for you guys listening there. You know what? It's weird because like sometimes you have such a feeling while reading the book, and then you go on and read other things, or you're like when you're reading the book, you're like, oh, this is definitely gonna be my favorite.
Yeah, for sure.
But then like when you sit here and kind of, you know what I mean?
Contemplate over
Yeah,
everything?
it changes up a little bit.
Is it Batman Annual number 4?
It's not. It's not. It's not. I'm just gonna go through my runners up
shit.
here with you guys, so this may be a little interesting here, maybe not. Harleen, no, because I went a little bit back and forth on that. Joker Killer Smile was excellent, but I don't know. Again, it was like
second guessing it, then I would say
yeah,
that's a no.
yeah. Dead Man Logan, no. Wow, so it's down to Savage Avengers Annual and DCeased for me. Because these were probably the most balls to the walls, crazy fucking fun books this week.
Shit.
So
you know what I'm gonna say? You're gonna pick
what's that?
Savage Avengers.
No, I think I'm gonna go with DCeased.
Really?
Actually, yeah, because this was the wrap up of this, and I thought it wrapped up spectacularly. And
fair enough.
Yeah,
I just thought you were gonna go with Conan.
I really, really wanted to. Listen, it's neck and neck here, but I'm gonna give it to DCeased. DCeased number 6, everyone. So there you go. Those are our favorites of the week. Very strong week, though. Very strong week, and lots of great books out there, guys. So, yeah, once again, thank you for tuning in. This extra long episode of
we hope you stuck
Weekly
around this
Comic
long.
Time. Yeah. It was a big week, but we kind of, you know, we had so much fun doing it. We wanted to get through and conversate on all these.
Tonight.
Exactly. So let us know what you guys are reading. If there's other things you guys are reading you think we should be reading, maybe keep it to yourself because we read way too much anyways. But
well, tell us what you think of what we read.
No, let us know, though, if anything. I'm just joking around of what you're reading and what you thought of what we read. And we'll see you guys next time.
Have a great week.